The day after I moved into my new apartment, the previous owner called in panic. "Eddie, you need to see this. My camera caught what your son's been doing. Meet me now." "Don't let him know I contacted you." What she revealed to me that morning shattered my world. Before I tell you what happened, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. You'll want to hear every word of this. That call came at 5:43 in the morning. I had not slept. My sister Elizabeth had sold us the apartment just 2 days earlier. She had lived there for 12 years before retiring to London. The sale happened quickly, almost too quickly. But my son Connor insisted it was a good deal, and I trusted him. He had always been the responsible one, the tech genius who made millions before turning 40. After my wife Linda passed away 2 years ago, Connor became the anchor of our family. But something in Elizabeth's voice made my stomach turn. She was not the kind of person who panicked easily. She had worked as a prosecutor for 30 years. She dealt with criminals, liars, and dangerous people every day. If she was scared, something was very wrong. "Meet me at Riverside Park," she had said. "The Soldiers Monument 7C0. Come alone. Eddie, please don't tell Connor." I looked at the clock. It was barely 6:00 in the morning. The apartment was silent. Connor was still asleep in his room down the hall. I stood in the kitchen staring at my phone, replaying Elizabeth's words in my mind. "Don't tell your son I contacted you." Why would she say that? What did Connor have to do with this? I grabbed my coat and left the apartment without waking him. The October morning was cold. My breath made small clouds in the air as I walked north along Riverside Drive. The streets were quiet. A few early joggers passed me. A taxi honked somewhere in the distance, but my mind was somewhere else entirely. Elizabeth had lived in apartment 9B for 12 years. She loved that place, the high ceilings, the old crown molding the view of Central Park. She used to say it was her sanctuary. So why did she leave so suddenly? And why did she look so relieved when we signed the papers I had asked her at the closing? "Elizabeth, are you sure about this? You don't have to sell if you're not ready." She had smiled, but the smile did not reach her eyes. "I'm ready, Eddie. It's time for me to go now." I understood. She was not ready. She was running. Riverside Park stretched out before me as I reached West 89th Street. The Hudson River glittered in the early light. The Soldiers and Sailors Monument rose like a white tower against the gray sky. I saw Elizabeth sitting on a bench near the base of the monument. She wore a long black coat and a scarf wrapped tightly around her neck. Her hands were clasped in her lap. She looked small, older. I sat down beside her. She did not look at me. She stared straight ahead at the river. "Eddie," she said quietly, "I'm so sorry. I should have told you before the sale, but I was scared. I needed to get out." "Elizabeth, what's going on?" I asked, my chest tightened. "What did you see?" She finally turned to me. Her eyes were red, as if she had been crying. "I installed a hidden camera in the apartment 6 months ago. I thought someone was breaking in. I kept hearing sounds at night, footsteps, doors opening. But when I checked, nothing was ever missing. I started to think I was going crazy and I pressed. I forgot to disable the camera before I moved out. The feed still goes to my phone. Last night I opened the app by accident." She paused. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Oh, I saw your son go into a room that doesn't exist. My blood went cold." "What do you mean, Ma? Behind the bookshelf in the study, there's a load-bearing wall there. It's been there since 1984. The building inspector checked it when I bought the place. But on the video, Connor moved the bookshelf. There's a door behind it. He went inside. And Eddie," her voice broke, "someone else was in there." My hands gripped the edge of the bench. "Show me." Elizabeth hesitated. Then she pulled out her phone and pressed play. The video was grainy, but I could see everything. The study of apartment 9B. The tall mahogany bookshelf lined with architectural books. Connor appeared on screen. He wore casual clothes, a gray hoodie and jeans. He looked relaxed, calm. He moved the bookshelf aside as if it weighed nothing. Behind it, I saw a narrow door with a keypad lock. Connor typed in a code 4 digits. The door opened. The camera angle was limited, but I could see part of the room beyond. It was small, maybe 8F by 10F, gray walls, concrete floor, a single bulb hanging from the ceiling. And then I saw her. A woman sat on a narrow cut pushed against the wall. She was thin, far too thin. Her hair was long and tangled, falling over her shoulders. She wore an old t-shirt and sweatpants. She looked up when Connor entered. Her face was pale, exhausted, hollow. But I knew that face. I had looked at that face every day for 32 years. "Claire," I whispered. "My daughter, my youngest child. The girl we buried 2 years ago." "And that's her, isn't it?" Elizabeth asked quietly. "That's your daughter." I could not speak. I could not breathe. On the screen, Connor handed Claire a plate of food, a sandwich, a bottle of water. She took it without looking at him. He said something I could not hear. She did not respond. He stood there for a moment watching her. Then he left the room, locked the door, and moved the bookshelf back into place. The video ended. My world collapsed. Claire died on October 15th, 2 years ago. A car accident on the West Side Highway. Connor called me at 2:00 in the morning. He was at the hospital. He said Claire's car had hit a guardrail at high speed. She died on impact. He identified the body. I could not do it. I could not look at my daughter's face and say goodbye. We held the funeral at Woodland Cemetery 5 days later. I stood over her grave and said the words I thought I would never have to say. I watched them lower her casket into the ground. I threw a handful of dirt onto the lid and listened to it rattle in the silence. But she was alive. She was alive, and my son had been keeping her prisoner. "Eddie." Elizabeth's voice pulled me back to the present. "I don't know what's happening. I don't know why Connor is doing this, but you need to be careful. I've been watching the feed for the past week. He goes into that room every single day, sometimes twice a day. He brings her food, water. He stays for a few minutes, then leaves. This has been going on for a long time. Why didn't you call the police?" I demanded. My voice was too loud. A jogger passing by glanced at us, then kept running. "Because I don't have proof," Elizabeth said urgently. "The camera was installed without the landlord's permission. It's technically illegal. Anything I give to the police could be thrown out in court. And Eddie, your son is smart. Very, very smart. If he finds out I recorded this, he'll destroy everything. The room, the evidence maybe even." She stopped. She did not finish the sentence. She did not have to. She grabbed my arm. Her grip was surprisingly strong. The keypad code. I saw him type it in. It's a date. October 15th, 2022. 10/15, 2022. October 15th, the day Claire supposedly died. Eddie Connor has a meeting downtown this morning. He left the apartment at 8:30. He won't be back until 11 earlier at the earliest. That gives you less than 3 hours. You need to go now. Get Claire out. Find proof. And whatever you do, don't let him know you saw this video. She stood up and handed me a folded piece of paper. "I wrote the code down for you. 10/15/2022. Memorize it. Then destroy this." I took the paper. My hands were shaking. "Elizabeth, what if—" "No," she interrupted. "Don't think, just go. Save your daughter." She pulled her coat tighter around her and started walking toward the street. After a few steps, she stopped and turned back to me. "Eddie," she said, "I'm leaving the country tonight. I can't be part of this. If Connor finds out I helped you, I don't know what he'll do. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Then she was gone. I sat alone on the bench. The sun was rising over the Hudson River. The city was waking up around me. People walked their dogs. Runners stretched on the path. The world kept moving, but all I could see was Claire's face on that screen, her hollow eyes, her thin frame, the way she flinched when Connor entered the room. My son had lied to me. My son had staged a funeral. My son had kept Claire locked away for 2 years, and I had believed every word he said. I looked down at the piece of paper in my hand. The code was written in Elizabeth's careful handwriting. Destined, 15th, 2022. I had 2 hours and 47 minutes. I stood up and started walking back toward the Dakota, toward apartment 9B, toward my son's secret, toward my daughter. The apartment felt like a trap. I stood in the doorway of apartment 9B, my hand still on the key. The silence pressed against me. Connor had left an hour ago. I watched him climb into a taxi and disappear downtown. He would not be back until 11 euro. That gave me time, but not much. I moved quickly to the study. The mahogany bookshelf stood against the far wall, exactly where it had been in the video. I grabbed the edge and pulled. It was heavier than I expected, but it moved. Behind it was a narrow door with a keypad lock. My hands shook as I typed in the code. 10/15/2022. The keypad beeped. A small green light blinked. The lock clicked open. I pulled the door wide and stepped inside. The room was empty. I stared at the gray concrete walls. A bare bulb hung from the ceiling. A narrow cot sat against the wall, neatly made. A small table held a plastic cup, and a plate, but no Claire. My stomach dropped. Had Connor moved her? Was I too late? Then I heard it, tap, tap, tap. 3 soft knocks coming from inside the wall. I froze. The sound came again, tap, tap, tap. Rhythmic, deliberate. Claire, I whispered. The tapping stopped. Then it came again, faster. Tap, 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 tap. She was here inside the wall. I ran my hands along the concrete, searching for a seam, a crack, anything. Claire, can you hear me? A muffled voice. Dad. My heart stopped. I'm here. I'm going to get you out the vent, she said. Her voice was hoarse. Behind the cot you can crawl through. I shoved the cot aside. At the base of the wall was a metal grate, maybe 2 ft square. I grabbed the edges and pulled. The screws were loose. The grate came free. Behind it was a dark tunnel. I dropped to my knees and crawled inside. The tunnel was barely wide enough for my shoulders. I had to keep my head down, my back bent. The floor was rough concrete. My knees scraped with every movement. The air was thick and stale. I crawled forward inch by inch. My breath echoed in the confined space. After what felt like forever, I saw light ahead. I crawled faster. The tunnel opened into a second room, and there she was. Claire sat on the floor, her back against the wall. She looked up when I emerged. For a moment, neither of us moved. She was so thin. Her cheekbones jutted out. Her hair hung in tangled knots past her shoulders. She wore an old gray t-shirt and sweatpants that were too big for her, but her eyes were still the same dark brown, just like her mother's. Dad, she whispered. I crawled toward her and pulled her into my arms. She collapsed against me. I held her as tightly as I could without hurting her. She felt so small, so fragile. I could feel every bone in her back. She was shaking. I thought you were dead, I said. My voice broke. I thought I lost you. I know, she whispered. I'm sorry. You have nothing to be sorry for. I pulled back and looked at her face. Tears streamed down her cheeks. We're getting you out of here right now. She shook her head. You can't. What do you mean Connor has a fail-safe? She said quickly. Her voice was urgent. If I disappear, if anyone finds out I'm alive, he has files set to upload automatically. Evidence documents, all fake but convincing. It will make me look like the criminal. He'll ruin me. He'll ruin you. We need proof first, real proof. Claire, I don't care about proof. I care about getting you out. But no. She grabbed my arm. Her fingers were ice cold. Listen to me. If you take me out now, Connor will destroy everything. He has lawyers' money connections. He'll make sure I go to prison, not him. We have to be smart. I stared at her. My daughter had been locked in a concrete room for 2 years, and she was still thinking 3 steps ahead. What do we do? I asked. You need to get the server, she said. It's somewhere in the basement. All his files are on it. The real ones. Proof of what he did. Bank transfers, communications, everything. If you can get that, we can go to the police. Where is it? I don't know exactly, but I heard him on the phone once. He mentioned the old storage room basement level 2 near the boiler. I nodded. Okay, I'll find it. But Claire, the sound of a door slamming cut me off. We both froze. Footsteps above us moving through the apartment. Connor was home. You have to go, Claire whispered urgently. Now I'm not leaving you. My dad, please. Her eyes were wide with fear. If he finds you here, he'll know. He'll move me. He'll destroy the server. You'll lose your chance. Go. I've survived this long. I can survive a little longer. The footsteps moved closer. I could hear Connor's voice. He was on the phone. I'll come back. I promised. I swear I'll come back for you. I know you will. She pushed me toward the tunnel. Now go. I crawled backward into the tunnel. The last thing I saw was Claire's face, her hollow cheeks, her determined eyes. Then I was in the darkness again, crawling as fast as I could. I made it back to the first room just as I heard Connor enter the study. I shoved the grate back into place, pushed the cot against the wall, stepped out into the study, and closed the hidden door behind me. My hands were filthy. My knees were bleeding. My shirt was covered in dust. Connor stood in the doorway staring at me. Daddy, he said, what are you doing? I looked at my son. The man I had trusted my whole life, the man who had locked his sister in a concrete tomb. And I lied. I was looking for a book, I said. I thought Elizabeth left some of her old architecture books behind. Connor's eyes narrowed. He looked at the bookshelf, then at me, then at the floor. There was a smudge of dirt near the base of the wall, a trail I had left behind. His expression changed. He knew. For 3 seconds, neither of us moved. Connor stood in the doorway. I stood by the bookshelf. Between us hung the silence of a family coming apart. My heart slammed against my ribs. My mind scrambled for excuses, explanations, anything that might sound believable. But one look at my son's face told me lies were useless. Looking for a book, Connor said slowly, stepping inside and closing the door. That's what you're going with, I said. Nothing. My mouth was dry. He walked toward me calm and measured. His eyes dropped to my hands, filthy stree with dirt. Then to my knees, the torn fabric of my pants. You've been crawling through something, he said. The service tunnels, maybe? He tilted his head. Dad, those tunnels are dangerous. You could have been hurt. I know about Claire, I said. The words burst out angry, desperate. Connor's expression didn't change. Claire is dead. No, she's alive. I saw her. I talked to her. You've been keeping her prisoner for 2 years. He studied me, then smiled. Okay, he said softly. Let me show you something. He moved to the bookshelf, slid it aside, typed the code. The hidden door opened. He gestured into the darkness. Go on, show me where you saw Claire. Something felt wrong, too calm, too confident. But I stepped inside. The room was empty, completely empty. The cot was gone. The table, the cup, the vent grate was sealed tight. The floor spotless. No dirt, no footprints, no sign of anyone. I turned. She was here. I talked to her dad. Connor said gently, There's no one here? There never was. You moved her. Moved who he stepped beside me. This was storage. I cleaned it out when we bought the place. No. I grabbed his arm. Claire was here. He pulled free, pity flickering across his face. When was the last time you slept? He asked. Well, you've been awake all night. And you've been on those anxiety pills since Mom died. How many did you take today? That doesn't matter, Dad. You're seeing things. Claire died 2 years ago. We buried her. You spoke at the funeral. His voice was calm, reasonable. You're grieving. You need help. I don't need help. I need you to stop lying. Connor took out his phone. I'm calling Dr. Hughes, I lunged. He stepped back, already dialing. Dr. Hughes, it's Connor Donnelly. My father's having an episode. He's talking about seeing my dead sister. I'm worried about his safety. Hang up, I said. Connor ignored me. We're at the Dakota 9B. Thank you. He ended the call, eyes steady. He'll be here in 20 minutes. He'll evaluate you. Then we'll talk about getting you real help. You bastard, I whispered. I love you, Dad, he said. And horrifyingly, he meant it. We're going to fix this. He touched my shoulder. I shoved him away. Don't touch me. You're lying, I said. And I'll prove it. Prove what he asked softly. That you saw a ghost. Who's going to believe you he was right? I had no proof, no evidence, just an empty room and a dead daughter. A 60-year-old man with dirty hands and wild eyes, accusing his successful son. I'm leaving, I said. You should stay. I grabbed my coat and opened the door. 3 neighbors stood in the hall. Mrs. Patterson, the Pierces. They stared at my clothes, my hands. Connor appeared behind me, concern etched on his face. I'm sorry, he told them. My father isn't well. He's confused. Oh, Eddie. Mrs. Patterson said softly, I don't need help. I said he's lying. Claire is alive. Dad, Connor said, gripping my arm. Please, she didn't die, I said to them. He faked it. They exchanged looks. Claire's funeral was 2 years ago, Mrs. Patterson said gently. It was a lie. You're scaring people, Connor said. The elevator opened. Tony, the doorman, stepped out. Everything okay? Fine, Connor said. Could you help me get my father downstairs? They closed in. Don't touch me. I ran. I reached the lobby before Tony caught me. He held my arm firmly. I don't want to call the police. Connor appeared, murmured something. Tony released me. You need to leave, Tony said. Mr. Donnelly asked you to. This is my home, I said. The apartment's in my name, Connor replied. You were staying here. It's not healthy for you now. You can't do this. I can for your own good. Tony guided me out. I looked back. Connor stood beneath marble and gold, the perfect concerned son. And I looked exactly how he needed me to look. The door closed. I stood on West 72nd Street. Cold, bright morning. People passed without a glance. I had no phone, no wallet, no keys. Connor had locked me out of my life, but I knew the truth. And somehow, I would make everyone else see it too. I walked for hours through Central Park down 5th Avenue, past Grand Central Station. The city flowed around me like a river, and I was a stone at the bottom, silent and visible. People hurried by with briefcases and shopping bags. Couples laughed over coffee. Tourists snapped photos. No one noticed the old man with torn pants and dirt beneath his fingernails. I had nowhere to go. My apartment was gone. My phone was gone. In less than an hour, my son had erased me from my own life. I considered going to the police, but what would I say? That my dead daughter was alive? That my son had publicly gaslighted me? They would call Dr. Hughes. They would believe Connor. Everyone believed Connor. By sunset, I was exhausted, hungry, and cold. I had walked nearly 10 miles. My feet burned, my knees throbbed from crawling through the tunnel that morning. That morning felt like another lifetime. I found myself on West 82nd Street, staring at a brownstone I had not seen in 5 years. Lawrence Bennett lived there, my old friend, my colleague from the firm. We had worked together for 20 years before retiring. He knew me. He knew Linda. He had attended Claire's funeral. If anyone would believe me, it would be Lawrence. I climbed the steps and rang the bell. Lawrence opened the door in a cardigan and slippers. 67, thin and gray, reading glasses on a chain. His expression shifted from confusion to concern. Eddie, he said. My God, what happened to you? I need your help, I said. My voice cracked. Please, I have nowhere else to go. He hesitated only a second, then stepped aside. His home was warm and cluttered. Books lined the walls. A fire burned in the fireplace. Classical music played softly. Lawrence guided me to a chair and handed me a glass of water. He said, "Tell me everything." I drank deeply and told him all of it. Elizabeth's call, the video, the hidden room Claire, in the tunnel Connor's manipulation, the empty room, the neighbors being thrown out. Lawrence listened without interrupting. His face remained grave. When I finished, he leaned back and rubbed his eyes. "Eddie," he said carefully, "this is a lot." "I know how it sounds," I said. "But it's true. Claire is alive. Connor's been hiding her for 2 years. He was quiet for a long moment, then stood. "I'll make some tea." "You need it." He went into the kitchen. I sat alone, staring at the fire. Relief washed over me. Lawrence believed me, or at least he was willing to listen. Then I heard his voice. Low, urgent. I moved quietly toward the doorway at my house right now. Lawrence said, "Yes, I'm sure. He arrived 20 minutes ago. He's not well, Connor. He's saying Claire is alive. That you're hiding her." My blood turned to ice. "No, I didn't call the police." Lawrence continued. "I thought you'd want to handle it." "Yes, I understand. 20 minutes. "Okay, I'll keep him here." He paused. "I know," he said softly. "I'm sorry. He's your father. But you're right. He needs professional help." I stepped back, shaking. Lawrence had called Connor. He was stalling me. I didn't wait. I grabbed my coat and opened the door quietly. Eddie, Lawrence called, "Where are you going?" I ran down the steps into the street. I didn't look back. I ran until my lungs burned and my legs failed. I collapsed at the dark edge of Riverside Park. The park was empty, the river black beneath the night sky. City lights glittered across the water, beautiful and indifferent. I sat on a bench, letting the cold seep into my bones. Lawrence had betrayed me, my oldest friend. Had Connor paid him, threatened him? Or did Lawrence truly believe I was insane? It didn't matter, I was alone. No home, no money, no allies. Everyone had turned against me or believed I was broken. But as I sat there, something shifted. I thought about Connor, his calm smile, the empty room, the call to Dr. Hughes, the humiliation he orchestrated. Connor was brilliant. He had built an empire on deception, fake documents, shell companies, a staged death. He had convinced everyone Claire was dead. He had done it all with paper. Certificates, records, forms, signatures. And if he built his empire on paper, I could destroy it the same way. I sat up straighter. I didn't need belief yet. I needed proof. Documents, records, blueprints, bank statements, the server Claire mentioned, evidence that couldn't be explained away. Connor made one mistake. He assumed I was too old, too broken to fight back. But I wasn't broken. I was angry, and anger is fuel. I lay down on the bench, pulling my coat tight. The cold bit deep. My stomach ached. My body was exhausted, but my mind was clear. Tomorrow I would return to the Dakota. Not the apartment, the basement. Level 2 near the boiler. Claire said the server was there. If I found it, I could go to the police with proof. Tomorrow I would find allies, people Connor had hurt, people who would listen. Tomorrow I would fight back. Tonight I slept on a bench alone, cold, homeless. Tomorrow everything would change. Connor built his empire on paper. I would burn it to the ground the same way. The basement of the Dakota smelled of rust and old concrete. I stood at the bottom of the service stairwell listening. It was 6 in the morning. The building was still asleep. Above me in apartment 9B, Connor was probably in bed, certain he had won, certain I was broken, certain I would vanish into the streets and never return. He was wrong. I moved quietly down the dim corridor. The basement stretched like a maze. Pipes lined the ceiling. Old boilers hummed somewhere far away. I'd been here once before years ago, during a restoration consultation. I remembered the layout: storage rooms, maintenance areas, forgotten spaces no one thought about. And somewhere down here was the proof I needed. I turned a corner and nearly collided with someone. A man in a security uniform, older, gay-haired, with a tired face. He held a flashlight. His name tag read, Hayes. We stared at each other. "Mr. Donnelly," he said slowly. His voice was rough. "What are you doing down here?" I recognized him. George Hayes, night shift, quiet, observant, the kind of man who noticed things but never asked questions. "I need your help," I said. He looked me over, wrinkled clothes, unwashed face, desperation written plainly. "You're the one escorted out yesterday," he said. "Mr. Connor said you were sick." "Connor is lying," I said. "And I think you know it." His expression stayed neutral, but something flickered in his eyes. "I don't know what you mean." "Yes, you do." I stepped closer. "You work nights. You see things. You know this building better than anyone." He was silent. "My daughter is alive." I said, "Connor has been hiding her. I need proof. Building records, renovation permits, anything that shows what he did to 9B. George studied me for a long moment. Then he sighed. "Follow me." The storage room was at the far end of the basement. George unlocked the door with a heavy key ring. Inside were filing cabinets, dusty boxes, broken furniture. "Records are in back," he said, "organized by decade." 1953, I said. "Original blueprints." He nodded, opened a cabinet, and handed me a rolled blueprint labeled 9B. I spread it across a table. There it was, the original layout, and there clearly marked the load-bearing wall behind the study. The wall Connor had removed. He violated the structure, I said. "That's illegal." "No permit was ever filed," George said quietly. I checked. I looked at him. "You knew." "I suspected," he said. "Night construction contractors using the service entrance." I didn't ask questions. Why help me now? George hesitated. "Connor paid for my wife's surgery. $180,000. Insurance wouldn't cover it." "He wrote the check like it was nothing, and she died anyway," George said flatly. 3 weeks later. Complications. Connor sent flowers, said he was sorry, but I knew the money came with silence. He met my eyes. I've been silent too long. For the next hour, I worked through the files. Blueprints, renovation invoices, payment records, everything tying Connor to illegal construction and shell companies. I found payments to Elizabeth, $150,000 through Meridian Holdings. Invoices for soundproofing materials delivered to 9B renovations never permitted. By 7:30, the stack was 2 and thick. "This is enough," I said. "It proves he lied." George nodded. "What now? I take it to the police." I said, "With witnesses, you'll need people," he said. "I know." At 8, I used George's phone to call Thomas Blackwell. 6 months earlier, Thomas's cybersecurity firm had been hacked. 4.2 million stolen. The IP trace led to the Dakota, apartment 9B. Connor's lawyers had buried it, but Thomas knew. When I explained what I'd found, he listened quietly. "I'll help," he said. "Whatever you need. I need your forensic evidence." I said, "The IP logs, the money trail. I need you to stand in front of witnesses. When tomorrow 5:00 p.m., the Dakota courtyard. I'll be there at 9:00. I met Andrew Stevens at Tom's restaurant. Andrew had been my assistant for 10 years. Loyal, sharp. He knew Claire well. When I told him she was alive, he didn't question me. "What do you need?" he asked. "I need help getting her out," I said. Before the confrontation. Clear's throat. Connor moved her somewhere else, probably the tunnels. Andrew nodded. 6 a.m. 6. By 10:00, everything was in place. George would testify. Thomas would present evidence. Andrew would help rescue Claire. And I had documents proving Connor was lying. Tomorrow at 5:00, I would gather the residents. I would show them everything. But first I had to get Claire out. I sat alone in the basement, surrounded by old files and blueprints, and felt something I hadn't felt in days. Hope. Connor built his empire on secrets and silence. Tomorrow I would bring it down. Andrew disappeared into the Dakota at exactly 10 in the morning. I watched from across the street, standing in the shadow of a coffee shop awning. Connor had left for his downtown office an hour earlier. I had seen him through the lobby windows dressed in a suit, carrying his briefcase, looking like the successful tech entrepreneur everyone believed him to be. He had no idea what was about to happen. Andrew moved quickly through the service entrance. He wore a maintenance uniform. George had given him a clipboard work boots. He looked like he belonged there. My phone buzzed. A text from Andrew inside, heading to basement. I texted back, tunnel entrance behind storage room vent at floor level. She's in second section past junction. 3 dots, then got it. I put the phone away and waited. 20 minutes felt like 20 hours. Then the door opened. Andrew stepped out, and behind him, leaning on his arm, was Claire. She looked worse in daylight. Pale skin, matted hair, the same gray t-shirt and sweatpants from 2 days ago. She blinked in the sunlight, like someone waking from a long, dark dream, but she was alive. I started toward her, then I heard a voice. Claire. I turned. A man stood on the sidewalk staring, maybe 34, with dark hair and a worn leather jacket. He held a coffee cup frozen halfway to his mouth. His face had gone white. Shh, Snort's there, he said again, his voice cracked. Claire looked up. Her eyes focused on him. For a moment she did not move. Then her expression shattered. Genoy whispered. He crossed the street in 3 strides. The coffee cup fell and shattered on the pavement. He reached her and stopped, as if afraid she might disappear. You're alive, he said. Oh my God, you're alive, Jordan. Her voice was tears streamed down her face. I thought you'd forgotten me. Forget you. His voice broke. Claire, I never stopped looking. Not for 1 day. I knew you weren't dead. I knew it. He pulled her into his arms. She collapsed against him. They stood there holding each other, both shaking. People walked past staring, but neither of them noticed. I looked at Andrew. We said nothing. There was nothing to say. Jordan was a journalist. I learned that as we drove to my old office. He had been Claire's boyfriend for 3 years before she disappeared. When Connor told everyone she had died in a car accident, Jordan had not believed it. No body at the scene. Inconsistencies in the police report. The timeline did not make sense. So Jordan had started investigating on his own for 2 years. He searched, he tracked Connor's finances, interviewed people Connor knew, followed leads that went nowhere. And this morning he had been staking out the Dakota the same way he did every week, and then Andrew walked out with Claire. Everyone told me to let it go, Jordan said as he drove. His hands gripped the steering wheel. My editor, my friends. They said I was obsessed, that I needed to accept she was gone. You were right not to give up, I said. Jordan glanced at me in the rearview mirror. Connor told everyone you were having delusions. He's very good at lying, I said. Yeah, Jordan said quietly. He is. My old office was on the 12th floor of a building on Madison Avenue. A small space, a desk, a couch, wide windows overlooking the street. Now it was a refuge. Andrew helped Claire onto the couch. Jordan disappeared and came back with bags from a deli. Sandwiches, soup, orange juice, coffee. Claire stared at the food like she did not know what it was. When was the last time you ate? Jordan asked gently. Yesterday, Claire said. Connor brought me a protein bar and water. Jordan's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. He just opened the sandwich and handed it to her. Claire took a bite, then another. Then she started crying. It's okay, Jordan said. He sat beside her and put an arm around her shoulders. You're safe now. She leaned into him and ate in small, careful bites, tears streaming down her face. After she ate, Andrew found a bathroom down the hall. Claire disappeared inside for almost an hour. When she came out, her hair was wet and combed. Her face was clean. Jordan had brought clothes from her old apartment, things he could not bring himself to throw away. She wore jeans and a sweater, now clean socks, sneakers. She looked more like herself, but her eyes were still haunted. She sat by the window and stared at the sunlight. "It's been 2 years since I saw the sun," she said finally. No one answered. At 3 under, I told them the plan. "We're going back to the Dakota," I said. "At 5 under, there will be a residents' meeting in the courtyard." Connor doesn't know. "I'm going to present evidence, blueprints, financial records, testimony from people Connor hurt, and then Claire's going to stand up in front of everyone and tell them what he did." "What about the fail-safe?" Claire asked. "The system that uploads fake evidence if I disappear." "We'll deal with that after," I said. Once Connor is exposed publicly, once the police are involved, the fail-safe won't matter. He won't be able to use it without incriminating himself further. Claire was quiet, then she nodded. "Okay, let's do it." Jordan stood. "I'll film everything. If Connor tries anything, it'll be on camera." At 4:30, we left the office. Eddie, Claire, Jordan, Andrew. The 4 of us walked out onto Madison Avenue and headed toward the Dakota. The sun was starting to set. The city glowed gold and orange. People rushed past us, heading home from work. The world kept turning, but in 30 minutes, everything was going to change. Connor was at the Dakota, confident and smiling. He had no idea we were coming. He had no idea his empire was about to fall. Connor came home at 2 in the afternoon. I did not see it happen, but later George told me. Connor walked into the lobby, took the elevator to the 9th floor, and unlocked the door to apartment 9B. He was carrying his briefcase. He looked calm, confident, like a man who had everything under control. 20 minutes later, George heard shouting from the 9th floor. I can only imagine what Connor felt when he discovered the tunnel was empty. He must have gone straight to the study, pushed the bookshelf aside, typed in the code, opened the door, and found nothing. The cot was gone. The table, the grate I had crawled through, was still sealed, but the second room, the one beyond the junction, was empty. Claire was gone. For 2 years, Connor had kept her hidden. For 2 years, he had controlled every aspect of her life. And now in the span of a single morning, she had vanished. He must have stood there in that empty room staring at the walls and realized something had gone terribly wrong. George said Connor came down to the lobby at 2:30. His face was pale. His hands were shaking. He asked George if anyone had been in the building that morning. Maintenance workers, contractors, anyone unusual. George looked him in the eye and lied. "No, sir, just the usual residents." Connor stared at him for a long moment. Then he went back upstairs. 10 minutes later, George saw him on his phone pacing in front of the windows. He was calling someone, and he looked furious. I found out later that Connor had called Elizabeth. "Where is she?" he had demanded. "What did you do, Shay? I don't know what you're talking about," Elizabeth said. Her voice was calm, distant. She was already in London, already safe. "Don't lie to me," Connor said. "Claire's gone. Someone took her. Was it you? Did you help him?" "I'm done, Connor," Elizabeth said quietly. "I'm not part of this anymore. Whatever happens now, you did it to yourself." And she hung up. Connor called back 3 times. She did not answer. At 4:00, George sent me a text. "Connor's still here acting normal. Residents meeting at 5. He's planning to attend." I read the message twice. Then I showed it to the others. He's going to pretend nothing happened. Jordan said he thinks he can still control the narrative. He doesn't know we have evidence. Andrew said he doesn't know about Thomas or George or the documents. He's arrogant. I said he thinks he's already won. Claire was quiet. She sat on a bench outside the Dakota staring at the building. She had not said much since we left the office. Her hands were clenched in her lap. "Claire," I said gently, "are you okay?" She did not answer right away. Then she said, "What if he tries to hurt someone? What if he panics and does something terrible he can't?" Jordan said. He sat beside her and took her hand. Not with 50 witnesses, not with me filming everything, not with the police on speed dial. You're safe. We're all safe. I've been afraid of him for 2 years, Claire said. Her voice was small. Every day, every hour. I'm not sure I know how to stop. You don't have to stop being afraid, I said. You just have to be brave for 1 more hour. Can you do that? Claire looked at me. Then at Jordan, Claire's throat, then at Andrew and George, who stood a few feet away. She took a deep breath. Okay, she said. Let's do it. At 4:45, Thomas Blackwell arrived. He carried a leather briefcase and wore a suit. He looked every inch the successful CEO. When he saw Claire, he stopped. But you're her, he said. You're Claire Donnelly. Yes, Claire said. Thomas stared at her for a long moment. Then he said, I'm sorry for what he did to you, and I'm going to help make sure he pays for it. Claire nodded. Thank you. Thomas looked at me. I brought everything. Financial forensics IP logs, the whole paper trail. When I present this, there won't be any doubt. Good, I said, because we only get 1 shot at this. At 5:00, we walked into the courtyard. The Dakota's courtyard was a wide open space surrounded by the building's 4 wings. Tall windows looked down from every floor. In the center was a fountain long since dry. Residents had gathered in clusters, talking quietly. I counted at least 50 people, maybe more. George stood near the fountain. He gave me a small nod. Connor was on the far side of the courtyard talking to Mrs. Patterson and the Pierces. He wore a crisp white shirt and dark slacks. He looked relaxed, confident. He laughed at something Mrs. Patterson said. Then he turned and saw us. His eyes found me first, then Andrew, then Jordan, then Thomas, and then Claire. For a moment, Connor did not move. He just stood there staring. His face went white. The smile disappeared. His hand, which had been gesturing as he spoke, froze in midair. Mrs. Patterson followed his gaze. She gasped. Claire, she whispered. But you're dead. Other residents turned. One by one, they saw her. The courtyard went silent. Claire stood beside me, her hand gripping Jordan's. She did not look away from Connor. Connor's mouth opened, then closed. For the first time in 2 years, I saw something I had never seen before. Fear. Hello, Connor, I said. He stared at me, then at Claire, then back at me. What is this? He said. His voice was hoarse. What are you doing? I'm telling the truth, I said. And you're going to listen. I stepped forward into the center of the courtyard. 50 pairs of eyes turned toward me. Connor stood frozen, his face pale as snow, and I began. The courtyard was silent. 50 faces stared at me. 50 pairs of eyes fixed in the fading light. The fountain at the center had been dry for decades, yet the space felt charged, alive with tension. Windows glowed from every floor of the Dakota watching us. Connor stood near the fountain, pale fists clenched. Claire stood beside me, steady and trembling at once. Jordan was on her other side, camera, raised, recording everything. I drew a breath. My name is Eddie Donnelly, I said. I'm a retired architect. I lived in this building for exactly 3 days, and in those 3 days, I discovered something that puts every one of you in danger. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Mrs. Patterson frowned. Mr. Pierce leaned forward. 2 years ago, my daughter Claire died in a car accident, I continued. At least that's what I was told. My son Connor identified the body. We held a funeral. I buried her at Woodland Cemetery. I paused. 3 days ago, I learned the truth. Claire never died. My son has been holding her prisoner in a hidden room inside apartment 9B. Shock rolled through the courtyard. People turned to stare at Claire. She stood still, pale but resolute. "That's insane," Connor said loudly. His voice cracked. "Dad, you need help. We've discussed this. I have proof." I said, "I raised the blueprints. These are the original architectural plans for the 9th floor of the Dakota," I said. "Drawn in 1953. Retrieved from the building archives this morning with the help of George Hayes," George stepped forward from the edge of the crowd. "It's true," he said. "We pulled them from the basement storage. I unrolled the plans. This line here," I said, pointing, "is a load-bearing wall. It runs behind the study in apartment 9B. It's part of the building's structural spine. Removing it requires permits, inspections, and engineering approval. It's not optional, it's the law." "What does this prove?" someone called out. "Connor removed that wall," I said. "He cut through it to build a hidden room. No permits, no inspections, no engineers. He did it secretly at night with contractors paid to ask no questions. The courtyard erupted. That's illegal." "Is the building safe?" "He endangered all of us." "That's not true," Connor said quickly. "I had professionals." "Show the permits," I said. Connor stopped, his mouth open then closed. "Show us the permits," I repeated. He had nothing. "I checked city records this morning." I said, "There are no permits for structural work in apartment 9B. None, which means this building's integrity may be compromised, which means every resident here has been put at risk." Mrs. Patterson covered her mouth. Mr. Pierce whispered urgently to his wife. "We need an inspection," someone said. "Yes," I said. "But first you need to understand why Connor did this." I set down the blueprints and lifted a stack of papers. "These are bank records," I said. "Over the last 2 years, a company called Meridian Holdings, LLC, paid Elizabeth Harper, the previous owner of apartment 9B, $50,000, $75,000 per year, monthly payments." The papers rustled in the evening air. "Why would a shell company pay Elizabeth Harper after she sold her apartment?" I asked. "That's private," Connor said tightly. "It's irrelevant. Meridian Holdings belongs to you," I said. "I have the incorporation documents. You created a shell company to hide payments to Elizabeth Harper." Connor's jaw clenched. "You paid her to stay silent," I continued. "She heard construction. She saw things that didn't add up. You bought her silence." Anger spread through the crowd. "Is that true?" Mrs. Patterson demanded. "It's complicated," Connor began. "Yes or no," she said. Connor said nothing. "You lied to us," a man shouted. "You risked our lives." "What else are you hiding?" another voice demanded. Connor stepped back. Fear flickered across his face. "My father is sick," he said. "He's delusional. Ask Dr. Hughes, he's seeing things." "I saw the room," George said. "Every head turned. I checked the logs." George continued. "There was no approved construction, but I heard work at night. I saw contractors using the service entrance. Mr. Connor told me not to worry, that it was routine maintenance." He looked directly at Connor. "It wasn't routine." Connor remained silent. "You paid my wife's medical bills," George said steadily. $180,000. I didn't ask why. I should have. "I believe you paid me the same way you paid Elizabeth to make sure I stayed quiet." The courtyard was utterly still. "I'm sorry," George said to me. "I should have spoken sooner." "You're speaking now," I said. I turned back to the residents. "Connor built an empire on secrets," I said. "Shell Company's illegal construction silence bought with money and fear, and he did it all to hide one truth." I gestured to Claire. "This is my daughter. She's been alive the entire time." And Connor kept her locked in that room for 2 years. Silence crushed the air. Then a new voice spoke. "Let me show you what else he's been hiding." Thomas Blackwell stepped forward, briefcase in hand. "My name is Thomas Blackwell," he said. 6 months ago, my company was hacked. $4.2 million was stolen. The attack was traced to this building to apartment 9B. He opened his laptop. I brought the forensic evidence, he said. Let me show you how Connor did it. Every eye in the courtyard turned to Thomas. He stood beside the fountain laptop resting on the stone ledge. The screen glowed in the fading dusk. Thomas looked like a man who had been waiting 2 years for this moment. Calm, cold, precise. 6 months ago, Thomas said, my company suffered a cyber attack. It happened at 2:17 a.m. on March the 15th, 2023. By the time our security team detected it, $4.2 million had been transferred out of our accounts. A murmur spread through the crowd. Thomas tapped a key and rotated the screen. This is the forensic analysis, he continued. The attack combined ransomware with wire transfer protocols. Whoever did it had inside knowledge of our systems. They knew exactly where to strike and how to cover their tracks. Connor stood, rigid face, bloodless hands clenched. We hired one of the top forensic teams in the country. Thomas said it took 3 months, but they traced the breach to a single IP address. He tapped again. A map appeared with a red dot in Manhattan. 1. Clear's throat. West 72nd Street, Thomas said. The Dakota apartment 9B. The courtyard exploded with voices. He stole 4 million of them. He hacked them. My God. That's impossible, Connor said sharply. Someone spoofed my IP. I told you this months ago, Thomas. Someone used my network? No one spoofed it. Thomas said, his voice slicing through the noise. The attack came from inside your apartment. From your personal network. The timeline matches your system access perfectly. What timeline, Mrs. Patterson asked. 3 years ago, Connor's company consulted for Blackwell Tech. Thomas said he gained access to our servers' protocols and architecture. 2 years later, he used that knowledge to rob us. He displayed a timeline of access logs and transfers. The stolen funds moved through offshore accounts, Thomas said, then through shell companies. One of them was Meridian Holdings, LLC, the same company used to pay Elizabeth Harper. The same one used to pay George Hayes. All eyes turned to Connor. The anger in the crowd hardened into disgust. You're a criminal, someone said. Connor's eyes darted. He was surrounded 50 witnesses, a camera recording, and evidence on display. Then he smiled. Connor pulled out his phone. You think you've won, he said quietly. You think this evidence can destroy me. But I planned for this. He typed rapidly. I built insurance, he said, for moments like this. What are you doing? Thomas demanded. I'm deleting everything, Connor replied calmly. A red warning appeared on the laptop. A countdown began. 30 seconds. No, Thomas said, typing furiously. He's wiping the servers, destroying the evidence. 25 seconds. Stop him, someone shouted. 2 men moved forward. Connor backed away, clutching his phone. Don't touch me, he warned. You can't stop it. In 30 seconds, it's all gone. 20 seconds. You're insane, Thomas said. I have backups. Do you? Connor asked. Are you sure I didn't reach those 2? 15 seconds. Mrs. Patterson grabbed someone's arm. Call the police. They won't make it, Connor said, smiling. It's over. 10 seconds. I looked at Claire. She was staring at Connor's phone, pale but focused. Claire, I whispered. I don't know, she said. He changed the protocols. 8 seconds, Connor noticed. His smile wavered. Don't try it, he said to her. You're weak. You can't stop this. 7 seconds. Claire stepped forward. Claire, don't, Connor said, voice rising. 6 seconds. I can stop it, Claire said. Her voice was calm, steady. The courtyard went silent. Connor stared at her, fear replacing arrogance. No, he whispered. 5 seconds. Claire extended her hand. Give me your phone, she said. Connor backed away. No. 4 seconds. Give it to me, she repeated. Or everything you built collapses, including your fail-safe. 3 seconds. Connor's hand shook. You can't, he said weakly. 2 seconds. I can, Claire replied. She lunged faster than he expected, grabbing his wrist. 1 second. She took the phone. 0. Connor surged toward her, but Jordan and Andrew restrained him. The screen flashed red. Deletion complete. Connor laughed high and broken. It's done, he said. Everything's gone. Claire tapped the screen. The red vanished. Green text appeared. Deletion protocol canceled. Restoring files from backup time remaining 2 minutes 47 seconds. Connor's laughter died. You taught me everything, Claire said softly. Did you really think I wouldn't learn how to undo it? Connor collapsed to his knees. The courtyard watched in stunned silence as the man who had fooled everyone fell apart. Claire turned to the crowd still holding the phone. My name is Claire Donnelly, she said. 2 years ago, my brother told the world I died in a car accident. I didn't. He locked me in a hidden room, controlled my life, made sure no one found me. She looked down at Connor. He did it because I knew too much, she continued. I helped him build his systems, his shell companies, until I wanted out. She raised the phone. This contains every crime he's committed in 5 years, and now everyone will see it. She met my eyes. Then Thomas's. Then Jordan's camera. 2 minutes and 47 seconds, Claire said. Then we go to the police. Together. The courtyard erupted in applause. Claire stood at the center, surrounded by witnesses, and she began to type. The courtyard was silent. 50 people stood watching as Claire Donnelly, the daughter we had buried 2 years ago, leaned over her brother's phone. Her fingers moved across the screen fast and precise, like a pianist playing a piece she had practiced 1,000 times. Connor knelt a few feet away. His face was pale, shoulders slumped, eyes fixed on the phone. He didn't move. He didn't speak. He simply watched. Thomas stood beside Claire, laptop open. The restoration timer glowed on his screen. 2 minutes and 47 seconds remaining. What's she doing? Someone whispered. Hacking, Jordan said quietly. Camera still trained on Claire. She's bypassing Connor's security. Can she do that? Mrs. Patterson asked. She built the system, I said. She knows every back door. Claire didn't look up. Code streamed across the screen, numbers, symbols, encrypted strings. It meant nothing to me, but to her it was a language she spoke fluently. 2 minutes left. She's accessing the backup servers, Thomas said. Connor stored everything remotely. He thought deleting local files would protect him. She's pulling everything back. 1 minute 45. Claire's fingers never stopped. Tap, swipe, tap. Her jaw tightened with focus. A strand of hair fell across her face. She ignored it. She's too slow, Connor said hoarsely. The encryption is too strong. She can't. Claire tapped 3 times. A green line appeared. Primary encryption bypassed. Connor fell silent. 1 minute 20, she's inside, Thomas said. Master directory everything. The courtyard held its breath. 1 minute. Claire moved faster now. The screen flashed red, blue, then green. Code cascaded. 45 seconds. Almost done, Claire murmured. Calm, steady. 30 seconds. Connor closed his eyes. It won't work. 20 seconds. Watch me, Claire said. She tapped once more. 15 seconds. The screen went black, then green. Decryption complete. All files restored. Access granted. The timer on Thomas's laptop hit 0. Claire straightened and held up the phone. I have everything. The courtyard exploded with gasps and shouts. Thomas connected the phone to his laptop, typed rapidly. Then he pulled a small projector from his briefcase and aimed it at the pale stone wall. The wall lit up. Connor's crimes filled the surface. 20 raft high. 12 hacks, 6 victims, 10.2 million dates. Times IP addresses, wire transfers, offshore accounts, shell companies, Blackwell Tech Solutions, $4.2 million March 15, 2023. Pierce Financial Group, $2.1 million October 3, 2022. Rodriguez Holdings, $1.5 million, June 12th, 2021. Park Ventures, $1.2 million, February 8th, 2021. Thompson Capital, $800 November 20th, 2020. Martinez Consulting, $400, April 5, 2020. The courtyard was frozen. He stole from all of them. Someone whispered, 10 million. Another voice said, and he used it to pay people off. A woman said, Elizabeth George. The projection changed. Money trails appeared. Accounts moving funds through Meridian Holdings and a web of shell companies, payments to silence witnesses, payments to contractors, payments to lawyers. He built everything on stolen money, Thomas said, and used it to buy silence. The screen changed again. A list of names appeared, not victims, prisoners. Claire Donnelly held captive, 700 Clear's throat days. Below her name were others, women's names, dates, notes. A chill ran through the crowd. What is that? Mrs. Patterson whispered. Research, Claire said. He was planning studying how to hide people. I wasn't the last. I was the first. The courtyard fell into absolute silence. Claire turned toward Connor, who still knelt staring at the ground. For 2 years, she said, I lived in a room, 8 by 10 effed concrete walls, no windows, no sunlight, one bulb, one vent. I heard nothing except the hum of air and my brother's footsteps when he brought food. Her voice was steady. I lived beneath you, she said to the crowd. You laughed. You hosted dinners. You lived your lives. And I was 10 effed below you, locked in a tomb. Some people were crying, others looked sick. He staged my death. Claire continued. He stood at my funeral and cried. Then he came home and fed me through a slot in the door. Connor said nothing for 2 years. She said, I waited, I planned, I survived because I believed someone would find me. She looked at me. My father found me. She turned back to the wall of evidence. This is who my brother is, she said, and now there is nowhere left to hide. Silence stretched. Then one person began to clap, then another. Within seconds, the entire courtyard erupted in applause. Claire stood at the center, the truth towering behind her. Connor knelt alone, his empire destroyed, his lies exposed. There were no excuses left, no escape. The evidence was public. The truth was undeniable, and there was no going back. The applause faded. The courtyard fell silent once more. Claire stood in the center, her hands clasped in front of her. She looked at the faces around her, 50 people, neighbors, and strangers who had become witnesses. She drew a slow breath. You want to know what 2 years feels like, she said quietly. Let me tell you, 731 days, Claire said. 520 hours. That's how long I was in that room. I counted every single one. Her voice was steady, clear, but weighted with something heavy and lived in. Connor brought me food twice a day. She continued. 7 in the morning, 7 at night, a protein bar, a bottle of water, sometimes a sandwich. He slid it through a slot in the door. He never spoke, never looked at me. It was mechanical, like feeding an animal. The courtyard did not move. The room was 8F by 10F, what Claire said. Concrete walls, gray, a cot, a bucket, one light bulb that never turned off, no windows, no clock, no way to tell, day from night, except when the food came. Her fingers trembled slightly, but her voice held. I tried to escape 3 times, she said. The first time I pried off the vent grate, I crawled 10 FT into the tunnel before Connor found me. He turned off the light for 3 days. No food, no water, just darkness. Mrs. Patterson covered her mouth. The second time Claire continued, I tried to pick the lock. I bent a wire from the cot frame. It took 6 weeks. I almost had it. Then Connor walked in. He took the wire, took the cut, left me sleeping on the floor for 2 months. A whisper rippled through the crowd. The third time, Claire said, I screamed. I pounded the walls until my voice broke. I thought someone upstairs might hear me. Someone would notice. But no one came. She paused. Connor didn't punish me that time, she said. He just looked at me and said, "No one can hear you. No one is coming. You're already dead." Her voice cracked for just a moment. Then she steadied it. "So I stopped trying to escape," Claire said, "and I started planning. I memorized his schedule. I listened. I counted hours. I waited because I knew someone would eventually see the truth." She looked at me. "My father found me," she said, "and now all of you know." Silence held the courtyard. Then George Hayes stepped forward. "I need to say something," he said. His voice was rough. He faced Claire, then the crowd. "6 months ago, my wife Martha needed a heart transplant. George said insurance denied it. $180,000. We didn't have it. We were going to lose her." He swallowed. "Connor came to me. He said he wanted to help. No strings attached. I didn't ask questions. I took the money." His hands shook. "Martha had the surgery. He said she died 3 weeks later. Connor sent flowers. Then he started asking for favors. Ignore construction noise. Don't ask about contractors. Look the other way." George's voice broke. "I knew something was wrong," he said. "But I stayed quiet because I was scared. Because I owed him." He looked at Claire. "I'm sorry," George said. "I should have spoken up." Claire nodded. "You're speaking now," she said. George stepped back. Then Lawrence Bennett moved forward. "I need to confess too," he said quietly. "He wouldn't meet my eyes." "Connor paid me $95,000, Lawrence said. 2 years ago, he called it consulting. I knew it didn't make sense, but I took it." He finally looked at me. "Last week, Eddie came to my house." Lawrence said he told me about Claire. "I called Connor. I stalled him so Connor could intervene." His voice cracked. "I betrayed my friend." Lawrence said I chose money over truth. I said nothing. Lawrence turned to Claire. "I'm sorry," he said. "I helped hide you." Claire did not respond. Mrs. Patterson stepped forward. "We're sorry too," she said gently. "All of us. We lived above you. We didn't know. But we should have asked more questions." She took Claire's hand. "You're safe now," Mrs. Patterson said. "We believe you." She hugged her. Claire hesitated, then leaned into the embrace. Others followed. The Pierces, Mr. Wolfe, a young couple. They surrounded Claire, forming a circle. I stood back, watching. Then I heard a voice. Connor Donnelly. 2 detectives stood at the edge of the courtyard. Connor Donnelly. Detective Santos said, "You are under arrest for kidnapping, fraud, cyber theft, and conspiracy." Connor did not resist. As the cuffs clicked shut, I looked my son in the eye. For the first time in 2 years, the handcuffs gleamed beneath the courtyard lights. Connor's wrists were locked behind him, metal biting into his skin, as Detective Santos held his arm and guided him toward the gate. The crowd parted in silence. No one spoke. 50 residents watched my son being led away like a criminal, but he wasn't common. He was mine. Connor turned his head, searching the faces until his eyes found me. For a brief moment, I saw the boy who used to crawl into my lap with scraped knees. The boy who built bridges from popsicle sticks. The boy who asked every night, "Dad, will you check under my bed?" "Dad," he said. His voice cracked. "Dad, please, I didn't move." "Dad, you have to listen." Connor said, sweat on his forehead despite Clear's throat, the cool air. "I did this for us, for the family. Mom's medical bills were crushing us. The experimental treatment, the specialist's hospice. It was $300,000. I couldn't let her die, knowing we were broke." Claire stiffened beside me. Jordan's hand closed around hers. "I built Meridian Holdings to save us." Connor continued desperately. "The shell companies, the consulting contracts, it was to keep the family afloat. To give Mom dignity, to protect the house." "Stop," I said quietly. "Dad, you don't understand." I said stop. Detective Santos paused, allowing him this moment. Perhaps she'd seen it before. A father forced to choose between love and justice. I made mistakes, Connor said, eyes wet. But everything I did because I loved you. I loved Mom. I loved this family. You kept your sister in a cage. The words struck him like a blow. Connor flinched. You fed her lies, I said, stepping forward. You told her I abandoned her. You made her count every hour of 731 days. You broke her mind, Connor. You broke her soul. I was protecting us. You were protecting yourself. Silence spread across the courtyard. Mrs. Patterson covered her mouth. George Hayes stared at the ground. Lawrence Bennett shut his eyes. Dad, please, Connor said. I'm your son. Your only son now. No, I said. You're not. Connor's knees buckled. Santos held him upright. I had a son once, I said, my voice breaking. He was kind. He built things that helped people. But that boy died somewhere along the way, and I didn't see it until it was too late. The man in front of me is a stranger, I continued. A criminal who hurt the people he claimed to love. So no, Connor. You're not my son anymore. For a moment, Connor stared at me. Then the desperation vanished. The mask returned. You'll regret this, he said quietly. All of you will. Santos led him away. He walked with his head high, the confident businessman returning for one last performance. But I saw the truth beneath it. The frightened boy, the monster he became. The police car waited on West 72nd Street. Miller opened the door. Santos guided Connor inside, shielding his head from the frame. The door shut. The car drove away. And just like that, he was gone. The courtyard emptied slowly. Residents drifted away, whispering. George Hayes shook my hand. Mrs. Patterson hugged Claire. The Pierces bowed. By 7 hours, only 3 of us remained. I sat on a stone bench by the fountain. Claire's throat sat beside me. Jordan sat on our other side. We didn't speak. We just existed together in the dark, listening to distant traffic. Claire rested her head on my shoulder. It's over, she whispered. It's over, I said. For the first time in 2 years, my daughter was safe. For the first time in 2 years, I could breathe. My phone rang at 8:15. Detective Santos, Mr. Donnelly, we need you at the precinct. There's something you need to see. 20 minutes later, we stood in an interrogation room at the 20th precinct. Claire and Jordan were with me, Santos insisted. On the table sat Connor's laptop. The screen glowed with white text scrolling on black. We found this hidden behind a false panel in his apartment. Santos said, It's been running continuously. What is it? Claire asked. Santos turned the screen toward us. At the top blinked a red countdown timer. Failsafe protocol active time remaining 16 hours 723 below it. If manual check-in not received within 72 hours, upload evidence package to FBI. Upload evidence package to IRS. Upload evidence package to Interpol. Evidence package contains financial records linking Claire Donnelly to 12 hacks. Fabricated emails establishing motive. Falsified server logs from Claire's devices. AI-generated voice recordings using Claire's voice. Result: Claire Donnelly becomes primary suspect. Federal warrant issued within 24 hours. My blood ran cold. Claire's grip tightened on my hand. It's a dead man's switch. Santos said if Connor misses a check-in, everything uploads automatically. The evidence is fake but sophisticated. Claire would be arrested before it could be disproven. Can you stop it? Jordan asked. We've tried. Santos said the laptop is encrypted, the server is remote. Connor won't talk. I stared at the timer. 69 hours. He planned this. I said, even if we arrested him, he still wins. Santos nodded. As long as the system runs, Claire is one missed check-in away from becoming an international fugitive. Claire stared at the screen. So what do? We find the server, Santos said. We shut it down, and we do it in 69 hours. The timer kept counting. The countdown glowed red on the laptop screen. 682714. I stood behind Claire in the interrogation room at the 20th precinct. She'd been typing for 20 minutes, her fingers flying across the keyboard with the kind of focused intensity I recognized from her childhood. The same look she'd worn solving math problems at the kitchen table. Refusing to quit until she found the answer. But this wasn't a math problem. This was survival. "Talk to me," Detective Santos said quietly. Claire didn't look up. It's sophisticated military rate encryption. The failsafe runs on a remote server, not this laptop. This machine is just a terminal, a window. "Can you trace it?" Jordan asked. He stood beside me, one hand resting protectively on the back of Claire's chair. "I'm trying." Claire's screen filled with cascading code-white text on black scrolling too fast for me to follow. The connection routes through multiple VPN tunnels and tour nodes. Whoever built this knew what they were doing. "Connor," I said. Claire nodded. "Connor." She pulled up a new window. A schematic diagram appeared. Boxes and arrows labeled with technical terms I didn't understand. But I understood the structure. A central hub, multiple endpoints, a web designed to catch its prey. "Here's how it works," Claire explained. "Every 72 hours, Connor has to log in and enter a 16-digit passcode. If he doesn't, the dead man's switch activates. The remote server automatically uploads evidence packages to 3 targets: FBI Cybercrime Database, IRS Criminal Investigation Division, and Interpol Red Notice System." "What's in the evidence packages?" Santos asked. Claire's jaw tightened. Everything needed to make me the primary suspect. Financial records showing I received payments from the hacking victims, fabricated email trails establishing motive, falsified server logs proving I had system access, even synthetic voice recordings my voice AI generated discussing the attacks. A Jesus Jordan whispered. "It's all fake," Claire continued, "but it's convincing. Federal investigators would need weeks to prove it's fabricated. By then, I'd be in custody facing federal charges." The countdown ticked down. 68 hours, 23 minutes, 41 seconds. "Can we shut it down from here?" I asked. Claire shook her head. "No, the laptop doesn't have administrator access. Only Connor does. And even if I could access the server remotely, it's encrypted with a passphrase I don't have. The only way to stop it is physical access. Find the server, pull the plug." "Where's the server?" Santos asked. "I don't know." Claire pulled up another screen: network logs, IP addresses, timestamps. "Might the connection is routed through so many layers of obfuscation that tracing the physical location could take days. We don't have days. We have 68 hours. Silence fell over the room. "There has to be a way," Jordan said. "There is." Claire's voice was grim. Connor left me one option. She opened an email client. The inbox contained a single unread message sent 18 minutes ago. The sender legal, protonmail.com. Claire clicked it open to Claire Donnelly from legal counsel on behalf of Connor Donnelly. Subject: a simple choice. Claire, by now you've seen the countdown. By now you understand the situation. You have 2 options. Option 1, you confess. You tell the FBI, the IRS, and Interpol that you and you alone were responsible for the 12 hacking incidents. You provide a detailed written confession. You plead guilty to all charges. You accept a federal prison sentence of 15 to 20 years. If you do this, I will deactivate the dead man's switch. The fabricated evidence will never see the light of day. Your father will not be implicated. Jordan will not be implicated. You will serve your time quietly, and in 15 years, you'll be free. Option 2, you refuse. You continue to deny your involvement. You try to fight. If you do this, the countdown continues. In 68 hours, the evidence uploads automatically. Federal arrest warrants will be issued within 24 hours. You will be classified as a fugitive. You will spend the rest of your life running, and eventually you will be caught. The choice is yours, Claire, but choose quickly. The clock is ticking. You hid in the dark for 2 years. You thought you were safe. You thought you could wait me out, but you were wrong. You survived in the shadows. Now you'll burn in the light. Connor. Claire's hands trembled on the keyboard. She closed the email without responding. He thinks he's won, she said quietly. Has he, Santos asked? Claire looked at me. Her eyes were the same eyes that had stared at me from Elizabeth's hidden camera footage. Frightened, determined, unbroken. No, she said. He hasn't. She stood, pushing the chair back. We find the server, we find it, and we shut it down. How why, Jordan asked. I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out. Claire turned to Santos. I need access to Connor's apartment. His files, his devices, everything. There has to be a clue. Something that points to the server's location. Santos hesitated. The apartment is a crime scene. We've already secured it. Then unsecure it. Claire said, Please, I have 68 hours to save my life. I can't do that from an interrogation room. Santos looked at me. I nodded. All right, Santos said. You'll have access, but I'm coming with you. Thank you. The countdown continued. 6 hours, 14 minutes, 7 seconds, 6:05. Each tick erased another fragment of time we couldn't afford to lose. Claire packed the laptop into its bag. Jordan held the door. Santos grabbed her jacket. I stood in the center of the room, staring at the numbers bleeding down on the screen. My son had built a trap, a perfect, inescapable trap. But Claire had survived worse. She'd survived 731 days in darkness. She'd survived isolation, manipulation, fear. She'd survived Connor. She would survive this too. Dad. Claire's voice pulled me back. She stood in the doorway, laptop bag over her shoulder. Are you coming? Yeah. I followed her into the hall. I'm coming. We had 68 hours to find a server hidden somewhere in New York City. We had 68 hours to stop Connor's final move. We had 68 hours to win. The race had begun. We worked through the night. The four of us, Claire, Jordan, Detective Santos, and me, spread through Connor's apartment like archaeologists excavating a sealed tomb. Every drawer, every file, every hidden compartment we were searching for a single crack in a life constructed entirely from secrets. By 3:00 in the morning, my eyes burned and my back throbbed. But none of us stopped. Jordan sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by bankers' boxes filled with Connor's financial records. He had been a journalist for 12 years, and it showed. He could see patterns where others saw noise stories buried inside spreadsheets. Here, Jordan said suddenly, "This is strange." Claire moved to him. I followed. Jordan held up a bank statement from March 2023. One line was highlighted. Monthly payment M. Hayes Properties, LLC 4200, Martha Hayes. Claire said quietly, George's wife. She died 6 months ago, I added. Jordan nodded, but the payments didn't stop. Connor kept sending money for $200 every month to an LLC registered under a dead woman's name. He pulled up a corporate filing. Mir Hayes Properties owns exactly one asset, a storage unit in Long Island City. Santos leaned closer. Address 3447 Vernon Boulevard, Unit 247. Claire opened satellite imagery. A massive industrial complex appeared. Rows of identical beige storage buildings stacked 3 stories high. That's it, Claire said. That's where the server is. You're sure? Santos asked. No, Claire replied. But it's the best lead we have. She checked the countdown. 58 hours of 12 minutes. We move now. Santos secured a warrant. By 9:00 a.m., we stood outside the storage facility. Chain link fencing, security cameras, a silent guard booth. Santos held the warrant. Jordan carried bolt cutters. Claire had Connor's laptop. I felt uneasy. The facility manager, a tired man named Frank, led us past rows of orange doors. Unit 247 was tucked into a corner on the second floor. Frank unlocked the door. It rattled upward, revealing darkness. Santos clicked on her flashlight. The beam revealed server racks, monitors, cables, a backup generator humming softly, and on the far wall, a single screen glowed red. Failsafe active time remaining. Chantatine. Claire stepped inside. This is it. She placed Connor's laptop beside the terminal and began typing. Code streamed past. Jordan watched from the doorway. Santos radioed the precinct. It's air-gapped, Claire said. No internet access except a secure uplink to Connor's laptop, fully isolated. Can you shut it down, I asked. Not without the master password. 16 characters. If I try to bypass it, the fail-safe triggers immediately. A Logan prompt blinked. How many attempts, Jordan asked. 3, Claire said. Then it locks for 10 hours and alerts Connor. 3 tries. Claire stared at the screen. I need to think like him. What would Connor choose? Something personal, something symbolic? A date, Jordan suggested. Maybe. Claire typed October 15th, 2022. Claire captive read incorrect passphrase. Attempts remaining 2. She swore softly. Mom's death date. I said Claire typed February Zoe in 2023. Kathleen read again. Incorrect passphrase. Attempts remaining 1. The room went silent. 1 chance left. Claire stepped back. Her hands trembled. I can't, she whispered. If I fail, you won't, I said, placing a hand on her shoulder. You know him. You don't know that? I know you. Claire closed her eyes, breathing slowly. He blamed you, she said. For everything. For Mom's treatment for the loan, I remembered. Connor begging me to co-sign $500,000 against the house. Experimental therapies. False hope. I'd said no. Connor never forgave me. That was the moment, Claire said. The day he decided the world owed him, she turned back to the keyboard. 16 characters, she murmured. A justification, his liberation, she typed carefully. Denied. Joe 923 tone at 500K liberation. Her finger hovered. Do it, I said. She pressed enter. The screen went black. Went. 3 seconds passed, then green text appeared. Passphrase. Accepted administrative access. Granted failsafe protocol. Active disable failsafe. Claire exhaled shakily. We're in. Jordan laughed. Santos smiled. I couldn't speak. Claire typed Y. The screen updated. Disabling failsafe. Countdown. Halted. Deletion of fabricated evidence in progress. Estimated time 8 minutes. Claire turned to me, tears streaming. It's over, she said. It's really over. I pulled her into my arms. She sobbed. 2 years of fear breaking loose. Jordan joined us. Santos stood back watching. On the screen, the timer froze. Time remaining. 5554703. Then it vanished. The system was unlocked, but we weren't done. Claire stared at the screen, her face illuminated by green text. The failsafe countdown had stopped at 55 hours and 47 minutes, but beneath it a new message appeared. Administrative access granted. Failsafe protocol disabled. Encrypted layers detected. 17. Decryption required for full data access. 17 layers. Claire said he built 17 layers of encryption. Jordan leaned over her shoulder. Can you break them? I don't know. Lines of code cascaded down the screen. AES 256 RSA 496 custom algorithms layered like a fortress. Each layer requires a separate key. This could take days. We don't have days, Santos said. Claire was already typing. Hour 1. Claire broke the first layer in 43 minutes. A substitution cipher disguised as firmware. Simple. Layer 2 took longer. A proprietary algorithm Connor had coded himself. Claire dissected it line by line until the pattern emerged. By hour 2, she'd cracked layers 3 and 4. Jordan brought coffee. I brought sandwiches. Claire didn't touch either. Hour 12. We moved to a secure room at the precinct. Connor's laptop and server logs covered the table. Claire had broken 8 layers, 9 more to go. Her fingers flew across the keyboard with mechanical precision. No hesitation, just focus. Jordan read server logs aloud. I paced. Santos fielded calls from federal agencies. Layer 9. Claire announced at hour 15. Broken, she didn't celebrate. She moved to layer 10, hour 24. Claire's eyes were bloodshot. Her hands trembled. But she didn't stop. Layer 10, 11, 12. Each one more complex than the last. Connor had built this to be unbreakable, but he hadn't counted on Claire. She'd spent 2 years studying him, 2 years learning his patterns, his logic, his mind, and she was tearing it apart. 13, she whispered at hour 28. Jordan squeezed her shoulder. You're doing it, not yet. Hour 36. Claire slumped in her chair. Layers 1 through 16 were broken. The fabricated evidence packages were deleted, but layer 17 remained. The final lock. A password prompt stared back. Layer 17, family authentication required. Enter passphrase family authentication, Claire said hoarsely. What does that mean? She tried Connor's birthday. Wrong. Kathleen's birthday. Wrong. Our old address. Wrong. It's not about Connor. I said it's about all of us. What was Mom's motto? Claire's eyes widened. Donna stick together, though she said it at every family dinner, every holiday, every crisis. Claire turned back to the keyboard. But how would Connor phrase it? She thought, then typed the Donnelly strong together. 2004. The year Kathleen and I got married. The year the family became Donnelly. Claire pressed enter. The screen flickered. Passphrase accepted. Layer 17 decrypted. Full system access granted. Data flooded the terminal. Files, logs, emails, everything Connor had hidden, everything he'd used to control Claire. All of it exposed. Claire closed her eyes. It's done. Jordan wrapped his arms around her. Santos smiled. I squeezed Claire's shoulder, unable to speak. The frozen countdown disappeared. A new message replaced it. Dead man switch permanently disabled. All fabricated evidence deleted. System status safe. 36 hours, Jordan said. You did it. We did it, Claire corrected. Together. I squeezed her shoulder. Donnie's stick together. She laughed, broken, exhausted. But real. Santos moved to the terminal, scanning the decrypted files. Her expression grew serious. Aunt Claire, Santos said quietly, there's something here. Santos opened a text file buried deep in the system. No encryption, just words. To whoever finds this, if you're reading this, it means I failed. It means someone cracked the system. Good. I built this as insurance, as control. But it stopped being about protection and started being about power. I told myself I was doing it for the family, for Mom's medical bills, for Dad's pride, for Claw's safety. But I was lying. I did it because I wanted to, because I could, because I convinced myself I was smarter than everyone else. I was wrong. Claire, if you're reading this, I'm sorry for everything. For the lies, for the cage, for the 2 years I stole. Maybe I wanted someone to stop me. Maybe that's why I left clues. Why I built this system with a key only you could find. Maybe deep down I wanted to lose. I hope you can forgive me someday, but I understand if you can't, Connor. Claire stared at the screen. Tears slid down her face. He knew, she whispered. He knew I'd break through. Jordan pulled her close. It doesn't change what he did. I know. Claire wiped her eyes, but maybe it means he's still in there somewhere. I didn't have an answer. The countdown was gone, the system was disabled, Claire was safe. But Connor's final message lingered. Part apology, part confession, part plea. And I didn't know if forgiveness was possible. The FBI moved at dawn. 6 addresses across 3 states, 6 coordinated raids, 6 victims held captive by people Connor had paid, manipulated or blackmailed into silence. Linda Mercer in Brooklyn, Marcus Rodriguez in Philadelphia. 4 others scattered across Pennsylvania and New Jersey, hidden in basement storage units and soundproofed rooms. By 8 in the morning, all 6 were free. Claire made the calls herself. She sat in Detective Santos's office phone pressed to her ear, speaking softly to each survivor. She apologized for what her brother had done. She offered resources. She offered hope. Through the glass, I watched her wipe tears from her face between calls. Jordan stood beside me. She's stronger than any of us. Yes, I said she is. At 9:30, Detective Santos entered the holding cell where Connor had spent the past 48 hours. I wasn't there, but Santos told me what happened. Connor sat on the metal bench, staring at the wall. He didn't look up. It's over. Santos said, "We found the server. The failsafe is disabled. The other victims are free." Connor didn't move. "Your sister broke through every layer of encryption, every trap. She did it in 36 hours. Santos paused. "You lost." Connor's hands clenched, his jaw tightened. "The FBI is charging you with 12 counts of wire fraud, 6 counts of kidnapping, 6 counts of extortion conspiracy to commit money and obstruction of justice. The IRS is filing tax evasion charges. Interpol flagged accounts in 7 countries. Santos set a folder beside him, arraignment Monday. Trial in December 30 to 40 years. ADX Florence. Connor finally looked up. His face was hollow. "Does Claire know he asked about the message?" Santos replied, "Yes." "What did she say?" "Nothing." Connor closed his eyes. His shoulders sagged. The mask cracked. Control slipped away. December. The trial lasted 3 weeks in federal court in Lower Manhattan. Prosecutors laid out the evidence Claire had unlocked. Financial records, server logs, emails, voice recordings. Witnesses followed one after another. Thomas Blackwell, George Hayes, Lawrence Bennett, Elizabeth Harper. Claire testified on day 12. 4 hours on the stand. 731 days of captivity described calmly, precisely. The jury never looked away. Connor sat expressionless at the defense table. His attorney argued mental illness, desperation, family trauma. The jury rejected it. On December 19th, the verdict came back guilty on all counts. On December 22nd, the judge delivered the sentence. Connor Michael Donnelly. The judge said, "You exploited trust, manipulated vulnerability, and treated human beings as assets. This court sentences you to 35 years in federal prison without parole. You will serve at ADX Florence." The gavel fell. Connor showed no reaction as marshals led him away. I watched from the gallery. Claire sat beside me, her hand in mine. Jordan sat on her other side. Connor glanced back once. His eyes found mine. I gave him nothing. The door closed. My son was gone. 3 months later, a recording surfaced. A leaked prison phone call from ADX Florence. Connor speaking to his lawyer. It played on every news channel. Connor's voice was flat. "People ask if I feel remorse." "Lawyer, do you, Connor?" "I regret getting caught. I regret underestimating Claire. I regret not covering my tracks better." "Lawyer, that's not remorse." "Connor, no, it isn't." Pause. "Connor, I knew what I was doing. I convinced myself the rules didn't apply to me." "Lawyer, and now Connor? Now I'm in a 6x9 cell until I'm 73. That's answer enough." The recording ended. Claire listened once, then she turned off the radio and never mentioned it again. 6 clears throat. Months after the trial, Claire and I sat in a coffee shop on West 82nd Street, 2 blocks from the Dakota. Sunlight filled the room. The world felt normal. "I've been thinking about what comes next," Claire said. "There are 6 other survivors," she continued. "They're free, but they need help. Legal aid, therapy, housing." She stirred her coffee. "I want to start a foundation." I smiled. "That sounds right. I'm calling it the Emerge Foundation," she said, "because that's what we did." Thomas Blackwell pledged $1 million. Jordan handled media outreach. George Hayes volunteered. Mrs. Patterson helped organize. Claire would run it full time. Your mother would be proud, I said. I hope so. The Emerge Foundation launched 3 months later. 6 staff members' offices in Manhattan and Philadelphia. Claire Donnelly, founder and executive director. The girl who survived became the woman who saved others. And Connor's legacy became something he never intended. Hope. Claire's first therapy session was on October 3rd. Dr. Amelia Morgan's office occupied the 20th floor of a Park Avenue building. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Soft lighting, comfortable chairs, a box of tissues on the side table. Claire sat on the edge of the couch, hands clasped in her lap. I waited in the reception area, flipping through magazines I didn't read. 45 minutes later, Claire came out. Her eyes were red, but she was smiling. How was it? I asked. Hard, she said, but good. We returned every Thursday for 3 months. Dr. Morgan diagnosed Claire with complex post-traumatic stress disorder, the kind that develops after prolonged captivity and psychological manipulation. The symptoms were real. Panic attacks in enclosed spaces. Nightmares about the tunnel, hypervigilance. Constantly scanning exits faces threats. Some days were good. Claire laughed with Jordan. She worked on the Emerge Foundation. She walked through Central Park without fear. Other days were bad. She locked herself inside. She couldn't eat. She couldn't sleep. The walls closed in. But she kept going. Every Thursday, she sat on that couch and did the work. Slowly, the bad days became less frequent. On November 15th, we drove to Woodland Cemetery. The sky was overcast. Cold wind rustled the trees as we walked through rows of headstones until we found the one we were looking for. Kathleen Linda Donnelly, 1964, 2023, beloved wife and mother Donnie stick together. Claire knelt and placed white leaves, her mother's favorite, on the grass. Hi, Mom, she said softly. I stood behind her, hands in my pockets. I'm sorry it took so long, Claire said. I've been dealing with things. You'd understand. She wiped her eyes. Connor's in prison or clears throat 35 years. I know that hurts you. It hurts me too. But he made his choices, and we made ours. She paused. I started a foundation to help people like me. I think you'd be proud. Her voice broke. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to live well, I promise. I knelt beside her and put my arm around her shoulders. We stayed there a long time. When we finally stood, Claire squeezed my hand. She would have liked the foundation. I said she would have. Claire agreed. George Hayes called on November 20th. He told me he was volunteering at a community center in Harlem, mentoring kids trying to make amends. I know it doesn't fix anything, he said, but I'm trying. I appreciate that. I told him. A year later, I saw his name in the news. He had donated the remainder of Connor's payments to the Emerge Foundation. Lawrence Bennett came to my door on November 28th. He looked thinner, older. I need to apologize, he said. We sat in the living room. I betrayed you, Lawrence said. Connor paid me $95,000 to stay quiet. I told myself I didn't know enough, but I did. I'm not asking for forgiveness, he added. I just needed you to know I'm sorry. Okay, I said. When he offered help, I shook my head. We won't be friends again. He understood. He left. Forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. Dr. Morgan taught Claire that. I learned it too. On December 1st, the Dakota residents voted unanimously to demolish the hidden room. Construction crews removed the false wall, sealed the tunnel, and restored the study. They installed a bronze plaque in memory of those who suffered in silence. May we never look away again. Mrs. the Clear's Throat Patterson organized a small ceremony. Claire spoke briefly. Afterwards, she looked up at the 9th floor windows. It's really over, she said. It is, I replied. On December 15th, the Emerge Foundation launched. Claire cut the ribbon outside the Madison Avenue office. Reporters gathered. Thomas Blackwell spoke. Jordan beamed. By noon, 47 people had called the hotline. Claire took the first call herself, listening, offering help. I watched through the glass, proud beyond words. 2 days later, a letter arrived. ADX Florence Connor's handwriting. Dad, I'd like to request a visit, please. Connor. I read it twice and set it on the table. Claire found it that evening. Are you going to go? She asked. No. Do you want me to respond? Yes, I said. Tell him we've moved on. She wrote a single sentence, sealed the envelope, and mailed it. She didn't show me what she wrote. I didn't ask. Connor requested a visit. We said no, and that was the end. Christmas morning, Claire burned the pancakes. Smoke filled the kitchen. The fire alarm screamed. Claire stood at the stove, spatula in hand, staring at the charred mess. Jordan ran in with a towel, waving it under the detector. I opened the windows. Andrew, who'd arrived with pastries, laughed so hard he had to sit down. And Claire laughed too. Not polite, not careful, real loud and unguarded and full of life. It was the first time I'd heard her laugh like that in 3 years. We gathered around the table at noon. Claire, Jordan, Andrew, and me. George Hayes was volunteering at a shelter. Thomas Blackwell joined via video call. Santa hat on his head. The table was simple. Roast chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, store-bought rolls, a small evergreen tree in the corner. It wasn't the Christmas I'd imagined 3 years ago. It wasn't the Christmas Kathleen would have planned, but it was ours. Claire said grace in her mother's words. We are grateful for this food, this home, and the people we love. Then we ate. Jordan told stories. Andrew shared business updates. Thomas talked about his grandkids. Claire was quiet but smiling. When Jordan squeezed her hand under the table, she squeezed back. After dinner, we moved to the living room. Andrew built a fire. Thomas signed off. Jordan made coffee. Claire sat beside me on the couch, her head on my shoulder. This is nice, she said. Yeah, it is. I didn't think I'd ever feel normal again. You will. It takes time. She closed her eyes. Thank you, Dad, for not giving up. I'll never give up on you. Later, Claire and I stood at the window. Snow was falling, blanketing the city in white. Yeah, I've been thinking about everyone, Claire said. George is volunteering. Lawrence is rebuilding. Elizabeth works with fraud victims in London. Mrs. Patterson sends cards every week. The Pierces donated to Emerge and Connor. Connor's at ADX Florence 23 hours a day in a cell. He'll be there for 34 more years. Does that bother you? No, he made his choices. What about the other victims? Linda's studying computer science. Marcus started a landscaping business. The others are in therapy rebuilding. They're connected through the foundation now. And you? Claire smiled. I'm okay, Dad. Some days are hard, but most days are good. And that's enough. I want to tell you something. Not Claire, not Jordan. You, the person reading this story, is real. Not these exact events, but stories like this happen every day. People get trapped. Families get torn apart. Trust gets weaponized. Silence becomes complicity. And too often we look away. Claire was imprisoned for 2 years in one of the most famous buildings in New York. Hundreds walked past her every day. No one knew. Not because they didn't care, but because Connor was good at hiding. Because Claire was invisible. Because we all have blind spots. So here's what I want you to take from this. Pay attention. If someone seems isolated, withdrawn, controlled, ask questions. If a friend stops answering calls, if something feels wrong, don't ignore it. Speak up. If you see exploitation, coercion, abuse, report it. Even if you're unsure, even if it's awkward. It's better to be wrong than silent. Don't give up. If someone you love is in danger, fight for them, even when it's hard. Even when everyone says you're crazy, fight anyway. Silence protects abusers. Action saves lives. If you're trapped, if you're being controlled, manipulated, silenced, know this. You are not alone. There are people who will believe you, help you, fight for you. It might take time, but there is a way out. Reach out. Call a hotline. Tell someone, leave evidence, create an opening, and when you get out, and you will, people will be waiting to help you rebuild. You deserve freedom. You deserve safety. You deserve a life where you can laugh without fear. Don't give up. 1 year later, I stood on West 72nd Street watching Claire and Jordan walk toward me. They'd just come from lunch. Claire's hair was longer. She wore a red coat and Kathleen's scarf. Jordan said something. Claire laughed that same unguarded laugh from Christmas morning. They walked hand in hand, unburdened. They didn't see me. I was just another face in the crowd. And that was okay because Claire didn't need me to protect her anymore. She was free. We both were. I turned toward Riverside Park. The sun set over the Hudson, painting the sky orange and gold. Joggers passed, dogs barked, children played, life continued. Ordinary, beautiful, unremarkable, exactly as it should be. Somewhere in Colorado, Connor Donnelly sat alone in a 6-9 cell. He would sit there for 34 more years. The world had moved on. And in Manhattan, Claire Donnelly smiled. She ran a foundation helping people escape the hell she'd survived. She had a partner who loved her, a father who believed in her, a future she'd built herself. She was proof that survival isn't enough. You have to live. This is the end of our story, but not the end of stories like this. So pay attention. Speak up. Don't give up. And if you see someone trapped in the dark, be the light that guides them home. I'm 72 years old now. I've lived through war loss, betrayal, and redemption. But nothing prepared me for the day I realized my own son had become a monster. People ask me, Eddie, how did you miss the signs? The truth is, I didn't miss them. I ignored them. I made excuses. I convinced myself that family loyalty meant protecting Connor's secrets instead of protecting Claire's life. Don't be like me. If you're hearing this family story, if you're watching this account of family betrayal and thinking that could never happen to my family, you're wrong. It can. It does. Every single day, I want you to learn from my mistakes. First, trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. God gave us intuition for a reason. Don't ignore it. Second, ask the hard questions. Don't wait for permission. Don't worry about being polite. If someone you love disappears from your life, go find them. Third, speak up even when it costs you, especially when it costs you. Silence protects abusers. Your voice can save lives. I failed Claire for 2 years. 2 years. She counted every hour in darkness while I walked past that building, believing Connor's lies. I thank God every day that I got a second chance. Most people don't. This isn't just another family story for entertainment. This is a real family betrayal that nearly destroyed us. And I'm sharing it because somewhere out there, someone is trapped. Someone is being controlled. Someone is waiting for rescue. Be the person who notices. Be the person who acts. Be the person who refuses to look away. God gives us opportunities to do the right thing. Sometimes those opportunities are uncomfortable, expensive, terrifying, but they're still opportunities. Don't waste them like I almost did. Claire is thriving now. The Emerge Foundation has helped over 200 survivors. Connor will spend the rest of his life in prison. And me, I'm spending every day left making sure this family story gets told, because the only way to stop family betrayal again is to shine light into every dark corner. If this family story moved you, leave a comment below. Share this video. Subscribe to this channel. Let's make sure no one else has to count 731 days in darkness. God bless you and thank you for listening.